again.
James.
Let's do another podcast.
We're doing it.
Say?
I love it.
So my name's James Adair. Welcome to another episode of our podcast, the Equity Accelerator, where Chris Angel and I talk about building equity in your personal finances, in your spiritual life, in your relationships. But mainly we talk about real estate. I'm a mortgage lender, so it's kind of a play on words. I'm always talking about home equity with people. And we talk about the nuts and bolts of running a mortgage practice, the nuts and bolts of interfacing with the real estate business, and ideas that we come up with that we're excited about on how to improve our businesses. And I'm really excited about something you've got coming up soon. By the time this comes out, it'll probably have already come and gone here in the Portland area where we operate. But Chris, you've got a really interesting background, and you know, you're the co-host of the Equity Accelerator podcast. Usually I'm talking about my ideas and stuff, but this is going to be a little twist on our normal format where I'm going to like kind of make you my guest. I'm going to interview you a little bit.
Okay.
You've got a ton to offer the real estate community and have been doing that for a long time. So one of the things that you and I were just discussing was how we're no longer in an information economy, which I found to be very provocative. And I'm not sure I totally believe it yet, but you said we're not in an information economy anymore. We're in a tribal economy.
Yeah. Past the information age. Yeah. We're not in the information age anymore. Right. Like we've been there and done it with information. There was a time, I think, when information was cool. They were like, ooh, we can Google stuff. Like, let's go find stuff, you know? But now there's so much information that we're using tools to filter information. Yeah. And I think the only way you get through my filter is if I like you. Like if I think that you get me, there's empathy in what you talk about, I feel like you understand me, then I let you through my filter and I consume your content. Everybody else, I don't consume the content unless there's connection. Right.
Sounds like certain political groups have harnessed this idea to great effect recently.
Yeah.
In 2019.
Yeah, I think that's why we're like, there's a lot of, in the space of marketing, which is where I sort of tend to play, there's a lot of people who are still marketing like it's the information age, meaning they think it's all about how many posts they make on Facebook a day. They think they're trying to they're sending information that has no connection. So you're going to send me a postcard about what you just listed and what you just sold. I don't care. There's no connection in that. You want to invite me to your open house? I don't care about that. And so if what you're trying to do is create a connection because you believe that relationships are what people buy, or people will do business with you because of relationship, then you have to market to connection, not market with information.
So how would you think that, how would I apply that to my mortgage practice? If my connection to them is just their mortgage?
Oh yeah. This is great. Sophisticated question, James.
You know, it's not, and the people I've done business with over the years is, you know, just across the gamut of super sophisticated people to not very sophisticated people to really young people, really old people, a variety of different needs and drivers. I mean, I don't know how to.
This is maybe unique to real estate and mortgage in that we help people buy something every 7 to 9 years. So like the buying cycle is not very short. It takes a while, right? So we have this long gap of like, how do I be relevant to people when they're not actually needing what it is that I can offer, right? Right. So like professionally, where you offer value to people is in this moment in time every 7 years when they can buy a house, or for you, it's probably more often because they could refi, but
right.
But then you're left with like, okay, well, that's how I add value. Then what else do I do to be relevant? And this is where I think, talk about being meta. I think that, you know, equity acceleration is your inroad to being relevant. You just have to take it beyond mortgages, which you already do, right? We're talking about how do you accelerate the equity of your marriage? How do you accelerate the equity with your kids? How do you accelerate the equity in your body? Right? There's all of that. People buy humans. They don't buy that you're a mortgage broker. They're going to do business with you as a mortgage broker because you understand what it's like to be a dad, a husband, right? Like, so when you can present that part of you with intellect and think in perspective, then I'm interested in who you are as a human, and I will give you my business down the road.
Right. So one of my favorite, and I know you are a huge fan as well. We've talked about him in the past, Seth Godin.
Oh yeah. Love me some Seth Godin. Yeah.
He wrote a bunch of books, some better than others. He's kind of inconsistent. I will say Seth Godin sometimes just tosses off some random books that are not great.
Yeah.
But the book that he wrote, maybe 5-6 years ago, called Tribes.
That's one of my favorites of his. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. And it really is about, it's a communications book. I mean, he's a marketing specialist and a marketing theorist. But his theory is that, marketing used to be more like advertising, where you would have a slogan and a campaign and put it in a newspaper, put it in a magazine, or put it on TV and just blast it out, carpet bomb the eyeball. And it was like from the messenger to the receiver, and it was a one-way street, and that's it. And then but now with the new ways of media, social media in particular, or email as well. He was one of the first email marketing specialists, right?
Yeah.
But with email and social, he says now brands can communicate with their people, but specific people, and then they can communicate back with email. They can communicate back to the brand, right? You can send an email out and they can reply to you. Yeah. And then be in a conversation. But now with social, it's like you can find your audience, they can reply to you, but the audience can also talk to each other. Right. So there's like a lateral component that's brand new. And now you can't control it. Right. In his theory in Tribes is that all you can do is try to find ways to become a leader, to provide leadership to the tribe. And they may or may not follow you.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, and I think the benefit of those that get this tribal connection thing right now, where so many people are marketing like it's still the information age, if you come along with empathy and understanding in how you reach out to people, you're going to stand out big time, because people are going to see that you're a human being and you're not this robotic person trying to always say the same thing about your profession.
So let's unpack that. Marketing like it's the information age. What would you say that is? I mean, I get just listed, just sold postcards sometimes, and I think that probably has value. I'm interested in, it's in my neighborhood. I want to know what stuff's going for in my neighborhood.
But it's not. But there's no connection to you.
To give me an example of information age, like an information age type of marketing piece that has would come to my open house on Instagram or something like that. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I would say any of the things you said, just listed, just sold, open houses. You can take the same thing. Well, let's take an example. So an information age based marketing strategy is just to send hey, here's what happened, right? Like, hey, here's a house that I listed, or here's an open house that you can come to.
Right.
And I don't remember that you're the one that sent that to me. I'm interested in it because, what could my house sell for? And I have no connection to you. But if you put a little more thought into it and you're like, okay, look, the goal of this campaign is connection. So I will end with what I just listed. But before that, I might put 3 or 4 postcards on the front end of that tell a story about who I am, why, what I value, so that the people who are like me, who are tribal, they see the world, I see the world. When I get to the spot of here's what I just listed, they actually have this whole pre-existing context for who I am and why it matters. And now it's not like, I'm interested in the price for me, the homeowner. It's actually good for you, the agent. I'm happy for you, because there's a relationship there.
Right.
And that's ultimately what you need. Otherwise, you're gonna look. They won't remember if you were a Windermere agent, a Keller Williams agent, whoever, a Hassan agent. They won't know. They'll be like, I don't know. Somebody sent me a postcard. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I guess I'll call my friend that I have a connection with to list my house, because this postcard said I could get a good price for it.
Yeah, that's right. They're at the barbecue, having burgers with you, having an actual relationship. And that's why, it happens to the best of us. It happens to me often, where I find out after the fact that someone refinanced and they didn't call me. And it's like, and your first instinct is to be mad at that person for not calling you. But I'm really just mad at myself, because I'm like, I wasn't there at the right time. I wasn't in his mind or her mind in that place, when and where I needed to be. And that's my fault. It's not their fault. They just are taking care of themselves and taking care of their lives.
Yeah, for sure.
It's my job to be, to create something different in their imagination that when the need arises, the first thing they think of is, oh, I got to call James. Maybe he'll have a good idea what I should do, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we could talk about this forever. I have classes around this and I coach around this, but like the bottom line of it is ultimately in the tribal economy, this is about connection. People are filtering for connection and authenticity. They don't need your information. So whatever you're about to do, whether it's an email, a postcard, a Facebook ad, it should come from a place of connection, not a place of information.
All right. So a place of connection.
Yep.
In a real estate context, let's say you've got, and this kind of goes back to one of our episodes. Most recently, we were talking about sort of storytelling around
right.
a listing or something like, what problem does this house solve? What, you know, how can you, I mean, for me, you know, I've got kids in elementary school and we are in a great school district and it's one that we chose specifically. And I know a lot of people, and I know that drives a lot of real estate decisions is like, what school is in, I gotta be in this district or whatever. And so, a friend of mine just put their house in the market a couple weeks ago and it's in our district. And I mean, it went with multiple offers and it's a beautiful house and it was well priced, et cetera. But I wondered what it would be like if they just emphasized the school and just said, hey, this is a great family home. If you're trying to get into this district, like that's the headline, like because there's such an inventory problem.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's on I think, lower end of the price spectrum of our district, you know? So it really is like for the family that's like trying to figure out how to get into this district, like come check this property out. I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm trying to, would that be an example instead of like, come see my open house? It's like adding a little bit more of like something you can really sink your teeth in.
I mean, you got two different things happening, right? Like with the open house example, you're asking like in the moment that I have a listing, how do I market this listing in a way that has empathy and creates connection with people and makes a first impression that is like, oh, like they're not going to come for you necessarily, right? Unless that's the goal. If the goal is like, hey, I want them to come to me, whether they buy this listing or not, I want to then represent them in this listing or whatever else they buy. Right. So if that's the goal, is the relationship with the person, then I wouldn't be marketing the property. I would be marketing to the conversation of families. What does it take to have balance in work and life? And what is it like to be a parent? If it's just about the listing, because the goal is for you to sell a listing, I think you and I know at this point, especially in a low inventory market, price is everything. Price fixes everything. So
yeah, it's true. It's true. I'm wondering if you could do I've always wanted to partner with an agent on having like a class in a house that's for sale.
Yes.
I always thought that would be like either like a home buyer's class or a home seller's class, or, you know, maybe in this case, if you know, this is a family home, like what if you did like a social media, like management for your kids class in this house that also happens to be for sale.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. I mean, I love using, houses as a venue. I mean, that's what Street of Dreams is, right? Street of Dreams is, you know, hundreds and hundreds or thousands of people coming through 5 or 6 model homes in the course of a week or two that had no intention of buying a house. They're not in the market for a house, but they came through because they wanted to see the gadgets and they wanted to see the design and it's all. And in the process of people coming through the house, people are like, oh, now I want to buy a house, right? Because they get all excited about the stuff, but
I want to build a house.
Yeah. I think, you know, depending on what kind of house it is, you know, if you're targeting renters with kids in a school district and you're bringing them into a first time house, they might have the same experience. Like, I'm learning about technology and apps for my kids in this house, but man, wouldn't it be nice to not have the neighbor right next door pounding on the walls and yelling at each other? And I could really see myself living in this house, and this is a great school. And yeah, totally.
Anyway, so I guess that's an idea, is to have the house be secondary to the other item, the other value, the class or the connection around an idea that has nothing to do with the house.
Yeah. if you get stuck in information marketing, then what happens where it's not connection marketing, it's information marketing, then people are going to constantly try to work you on price. They're going to ask you to cut your commission. They're going to ask you to cut your points because there's no connection to you. This is a transaction for them.
Right.
So,
yeah, that's totally true. Whenever, if there's no other value, if there's no other clear value, then let's just get the cheapest version of this thing that has otherwise no other value.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah. Like I said, we can keep going, but I think that's good that's a good taste test for people like to start sinking their teeth into it.
I suppose Chris, I'm glad we got to feature your area of expertise.
Thank you. Yeah, it's awesome. Hopefully it was valuable. If people, I would expect you could continue to have this conversation with people over coffee or
absolutely. Yeah. Call me, email me. That's the best way if you're on this podcast, because who knows what time you're listening to.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Don't call me. I'm sleeping. Email me. It's my name, James at pdxhomeloan.com. It's my website. All things James Adair, Equity Accelerator podcast, etc. is at pdxhomeloan.com. And would love to we could talk about this all the time. And
it's a really fun
Chris, if you want to talk about tribal marketing in particular, you're at My Groundswell. You're helping us with with the podcast production, and you have a production arm and all kinds of coaching and speaking things that you can do as well. So don't sleep on Chris.
Yeah, right. MyGroundswell.com.
fans.
Yeah, right. Thanks, James. Awesome. Well, good stuff, man. Looking forward to when this comes out, and until next time, see ya.
Thanks.